Hello and welcome to StudGenie classes. In the last 4 videos of the polity section, we have begun our discussion with the historical background and moved on till the fundamental duties. If you find these video lectures interesting and you are keen on reading about Indian polity more, or if you are a serious UPSC aspirant or you want to be an UPSC aspirant, then please log in to our website, the link of which has been provided in the description box below, www.studgenie.com, and have a look by yourself regarding the various live courses that are present, and you can take your subscriptions. Trust me friends, these are the cheapest of the courses regarding the quality that we are providing to you. The highest of quality courses are provided at the cheapest of prices, so please take advantage of it, and further you can gain an early bird advantage as well. So don't waste any time and log into our website very fast. So coming to today's topic of discussion, today we are going to discuss the parliamentary form of government. As we all know, our constitution provides for a parliamentary system of government. Articles 74 and 75 Articles 74 and 75 deal with the parliamentary form of government at the center. Further, Articles 163 and 164 deals with the parliamentary form of government at the states. Modern democratic governments are classified into parliamentary, or presidential. Modern democratic governments are either classified into parliamentary or presidential form of government based on the relation between the executive and the legislative. How can we determine whether a government, either at this nation or at a particular territory of that nation, let's say states, how can we determine whether it is a parliamentary or a presidential form of government? Just by looking at the nature of relation between the legislative and the executive organs of the government. So in case of parliamentary form of government, the executive is responsible to the legislative. The executive, may it be temporary, may it be permanent, it is responsible towards the legislative for all its acts and policies. But what happens if in case the government is of a presidential form of government? In this case, the executive is independent of the legislative. In case of the presidential form of government, the executive remains independent of legislative. So the nature of relation between your legislative and executive determines the nature of your government. The nature of government. What nature? Either it is parliamentary or it is presidential. If executive is responsible to legislative, then it is parliamentary form of government. If executive is independent of legislative, then it is presidential form. Let's have a look at the parliamentary government in short. The parliamentary form of government is also known as responsible government. Why it is known as responsible government? Because both the temporary as well as the permanent organs of the executive are directly responsible to the legislative, which is elected through a direct election by the universal adult suffrage. So this is more responsible as compared to your presidential form of government. Further, this is also known as your Westminster model of government. Why it is known as your Westminster model of government? Because parliamentary form of government first of all came up in Great Britain, and the British Parliament is located at Westminster, hence the name Westminster model of government. What are the major countries that follow the parliamentary form of government? India, for sure, as I have mentioned. Japan, another Asian partner of India. Canada, Britain, of course, where the parliamentary system evolved. So there and many other nations as well. So these are some of the major countries that follow the parliamentary model of government. Now let's take a look at the presidential form of government. It is also known as presidential form of government, is also known as non-parliamentary form of government, non-responsible form of government, or fixed executive. Non-parliamentary, non-responsible, or fixed executive. Because here the executive is independent of the legislative, it is not answerable to the legislative at all. Which are the major countries that follow the presidential form of government? USA, of course. USA, Brazil, Sri Lanka, Russia, Sri Lanka, etc. These are some of the major countries of the world that follow your presidential form of government. Political analysts like your Sir Ivor Jennings called the parliamentary form of government as cabinet system. He viewed that in case of parliamentary form of government, the cabinet is the most powerful organ. The cabinet takes all the decisions respective of each and every field, and it is just put into vote in the parliament. So we can call this system, the parliamentary form of government, as cabinet system as well. So he opted to call the parliamentary form of government. Sir Ivor Jennings called it as a cabinet system of government. Later on, modern political analysts came up. Modern political analysts like your Crossman, McIntosh, they prefer to call the parliamentary form of government as prime ministerial government. Why did they call it so? They opined that From cabinet also, the prime minister is the superpower. There is a phrase, primus inter pares. Primus inter pares. What does this mean? First among equals. First among equals. So they argued that with the evolving time, the power, position and function of the prime minister has evolved to a greater extent. The prime minister has evolved its reputation, the personality and the cult of the prime minister keeps on evolving in case of a parliamentary form of government, and the prime minister is growing in power with passage of time. Therefore, modern political analysts like your Crossman and McIntosh, they prefer to call the parliamentary form of government as prime ministerial government. Now, let's take a look at the various features of the parliamentary form of government. The parliamentary form of government, as you all know, contains both the nominal as well as the real executive. Nominal and real executive. Can you differentiate between the nominal and real executive? Stress a bit on your brain. The nominal executive is the president. The president has no real power, but he is the head of the state. Hence, the president is the nominal executive. Your real executive is your prime minister. Your prime minister is your real executive with all the, as president is your head of the nation, and prime minister is your head of the government. So, the president is the nominal head and the prime minister is the real executive of the nation. Further, Article 74 mentions that the president has to create a council of ministers headed by the prime minister in order to aid and advise the president. In order to aid and advise the president, the council of ministers has to be created headed by the prime minister by the president. The 42nd as well as the 44th Constitutional Amendment Act of 1976 and 1978 respectively. The 42nd Constitutional Amendment Act was brought out in 1976 and the 44th Constitutional Amendment Act was brought in 1978 when the Janata Party government was formed. The 44th Constitutional Amendment Act came into force. So, both these 42nd as well as the 44th Constitutional Amendment Act, they provided that the president cannot discard the advice of the Council of Ministers. The president is bound by the advice of the Council of Ministers, and this binding has been done by both the 42nd and the 44th Constitutional Amendment Acts of 1976 and 1978 respectively. Now we will look at the second feature of the parliamentary form of government. It says that it is the rule of majority party. No doubt in it, the party which has got the majority in the parliament will be invited by the president in order to form the government. The leader of the majority party would be selected as the prime minister of the nation. Hence, it represents a majority party rule in case of parliamentary form of government. You might be thinking, what about the post-poll alliances, pre-poll alliances, all these things? Just wait a minute, we will be getting into that. Another feature of this parliamentary form of government is collective responsibility. We know very well that the cabinet as well as the entire council of ministers are directly responsible to the Lok Sabha in particular and the parliament in general. The moment the council of ministers lose confidence of the Lok Sabha, the government is discarded. The council of ministers gets broken down. The government loses its confidence. Therefore, the council of ministers are collectively responsible to the house. And it is mentioned in Article 75. In the very first only, I have told you that Article 74 and Article 75 deals with the parliamentary form of government at the center. What about the states? I had said earlier only that Articles 163 and 164 deal with parliamentary form of government at the states. So Article 74 mentions that a council of ministers needs to be created by the president in order to aid and advise the president. And Article 75 mentions the collective responsibility of the council of ministers to the Lok Sabha or the lower house of the parliament. So the fourth feature of the parliamentary form of government is political homogeneity. As the majority party rule and the majority party forms the government, the entire council of ministers present in the government share a similar ideology. The ministers share similar ideology, hence discarding ideological differences arising out in the government. Therefore, this is a major aspect of parliamentary form of government, political homogeneity. It curbs the ideological differences problem in the government. The next important feature of parliamentary form of government is double membership. The ministers are members of both legislative as well as executive. No minister can remain in chair without being elected as a member of the house or a member of parliament for more than 6 months. Within 6 months, that minister must be elected as a member of parliament either in Lok Sabha or in Rajya Sabha, either in the lower house or in the upper house. So double membership is being granted by the parliamentary form of government. The next important feature is leadership of the Prime Minister. The Prime Minister plays a crucial role in case of your parliamentary form of government. The Prime Minister is the leader of government, the leader of parliament, and mostly the leader of the majority party as well. By far and so, normally the Prime Minister becomes the leader of the Lok Sabha. But what if the Prime Minister is an MP from Rajya Sabha? When Dr. Manmohan Singh was the Prime Minister for very notable time period, ex-President late Pranab Mukherjee was the leader of Lok Sabha. Then the executive has the power to dissolve the legislative, dissolution of Lok Sabha. The Prime Minister can recommend to the President to dissolve the Lok Sabha, and when the Prime Minister recommends to dissolve the Lok Sabha stands dissolved before the expiry of its term. So this is an extraordinary power in the hands of the executive over the legislative in case of your parliamentary form of government. Secrecy. It is another feature of your parliamentary form of government. Further, it is the last feature of your parliamentary form of government. The ministers, including the Prime Minister, take an oath of secrecy in order not to divulge any informations, policies regarding in their power and position to anyone outside. This maintains the secrecy to their functions. Hence, we have completed all the 8 features of the parliamentary form of government. Now, let's talk about some of the merits of the parliamentary form of government. The most important one is the parliamentary form of government maintains harmony between your legislative and executive. The parliamentary form of government has the most advantageous one and has an upper hand in this, that it prevents and avoids conflicts between your legislative and your executive. Why? How does it does that? Your ministers, the council of ministers, are members of both legislative and as well as executive. Hence, the conflicts that must have arisen before the house between legislative and executive is quite well avoided. The second most important feature is responsible government. The parliamentary form of government is considered as a responsible government, as the Council of Ministers are directly responsible to the Parliament in general and to the Lok Sabha in particular. The Council of Ministers, as you can see, they are members of both legislative as well as the executive. They are collectively responsible, as we discussed earlier under Article 75. They are collectively responsible to the Parliament, and hence this government hence it makes the executive directly responsible to the people. Therefore, the parliamentary form of government can be called as a responsible government. The next important merits of the parliamentary form of government is it prevents despotism. What do you mean by this? That parliamentary form of government prevents despotism. It means that it prevents vesting all the powers on a single person, that is the Prime Minister. The powers are quite well spread between the entire Council of Ministers and not only on the Prime Minister, which we will witness in case of presidential form of government, that all the powers are vested on a single person, the president. But in case of parliamentary form of government, the powers are well distributed. Hence, it prevents the country from being led by an autocratic ruler, by a dictatorship government. Less possible chance of a dictator government to take place in case of your parliamentary form of government. The next important merit of this system is ready alternative government. If the government in hand loses majority or loses confidence of the house, then the head of the state, that is the president, will call the leader of opposition to form the government. If it is possible, then he will call the leader of the opposition to form the government. Therefore, Dr. Ivor Jennings called that the leader of opposition is the alternative prime minister. You can quote him, Dr. Ivory Jennings called the leader of opposition is the alternative prime minister. So these are some of the various important merits of the parliamentary form of government, that it creates a harmonious relationship between your legislature and executive. It gives us a responsible government. It prevents despotism and dictatorship in the government. It provides us with a ready alternative government which can be formed without pushing the entire nation again into election. After looking after the various merits of the parliamentary form of government, let's take a look about the various demerits of this system of government. The first one being unstable government. There is no fixed tenure. There is no assertion that the government will complete its tenure, because the government remains in power with the mercy of the majority of legislators. We cannot say when a no confidence motion can be passed against the government and the government in power might get dethroned. Therefore, it gives rise to an unstable government in case of a parliamentary form of government. Now, this instability in government will lead to no continuity of policies, because the government is at the mercy of the majority of legislators, and the government itself doesn't know whether it will fulfill the complete term or not. So the policies will not, there is a clear absence and lack of continuity of policies. Further, if the government loses an election and some other party comes to election, then also the existing policies, normally it is seen that the existing policies are either eliminated or they are blocked and new policies come into force. Hence, we can say that the parliamentary form of government does not provide ample room for providing continuity of policies. Many constitutional analysts say that the parliamentary form of government is nothing but dictatorship of the cabinet. They argue that the cabinet takes all the important decisions and it dictates the legislators to vote upon them through issuing whips. Therefore, they prefer to call the parliamentary form of government as the dictatorship of the cabinet. One more demerit is, some people say that the parliamentary form of government is against separation of powers. There is no clear-cut separation of powers between your legislative and executive. Because the ministers, they are members of both your legislative as well as your executive organ of the government. Hence, they argue that parliamentary form of government is very against the separation of powers. One more demerit is some of the critics argue that it is a government, the parliamentary form of government is a government by amateurs. Why they argue so? They put forward the argument is that the ministers of their respective portfolios are not the experts of those fields. Therefore, it is a government formed by amateurs. And why is it a major demerit? Because government formed by amateurs will always lack administrative efficiency, which we can clearly see in case of India. India might be considered as the best example of a nation suffering from government by amateurs, which lacks complete administrative efficiency, vision by the top executives, that is the ministers, because they are not related to that field to which portfolio they are allocated to. Hence, these are some of the major demerits of the parliamentary form of government. But despite such demerits, such existence of so many demerits, why did India adopt the parliamentary form of government? Let's have a look about it. So, despite all that discussed demerits, why did India adopt the parliamentary form of government? Quite many reasons why India adopted the parliamentary form of government. The first one being familiarity with the system. India had been long ruled by the British government. Hence, Indians had an exposure to the parliamentary form of government which is existing in Britain. So, the Indians are more familiar with this system of governments. Hence, it came as the first argument or the first argument supporting towards granting parliamentary form of government. The second most important argument put forward by Dr. Bhimrao Ambedkar was responsible government. Dr. Ambedkar said that we want a government that would be directly responsible to the people, of the people, by the people, and for the people. It is the government must be for the people, directly responsible to the people, and such responsible government could only be formed. Responsible government, kindly forgive me for that mistake. And such responsible government could only be formed if we adopt the parliamentary form of government. Next important feature of that was discussed was we need the constitution framers decided that it is a need to eliminate or at least reduce the legislative and executive conflicts. Decisions must not be kept on prolonging or pending in the desks just because of conflicts arising because of separation of powers due to legislative and executive. Hence, they decided to keep the Council of Ministers as a joining link between the legislative and executive. And to do so, they argued that we need to adopt the parliamentary form of government. One more aspect was the nature of Indian society. What is the nature of Indian society to play a role here? How will the nature of Indian society will play a role in forming the parliamentary government? India is the best example in the world for unity in diversity. Indian society is one of the best examples in the world for unity in diversity. To rule such a diverse culture and to represent such diverse socio-economic standards of the society, socio-economic sections of the society, we need a wider representation in the government. We need a wider representation to have the power with themselves. We cannot vest all the powers in a single person. We need a group of persons, a wider representation of the society to vest the powers with. Therefore, it said that as per Indian society, we have to adopt parliamentary form of government. So that's how our constitution makers, our framers of Indian constitution adopted parliamentary form of government for governing India. If you found this video informative, if you found this video useful, please like this video, share this video, comment your response on this video in the comment section below, and if you want to join our live classes, please visit to our website www.studgenie.com, the link of which has been provided in the description box below. Please check there and subscribe to our live classes and enjoy being with us. Thank you.